When you dare to share, you break the silence. When you dare to share, you speak your truth. When you dare to share, you use the full strength of your voice. When you dare to share, it brings opportunity to own your story. So tell it, be heard, and at the same time, your sharing is someone else's learning, inspiration, motivation, empowerment, and hope. There's always an element to each of our stories that remains a secret. For some, we feel it's a dirty little secret. Dare to share your untold story exposes these secrets in a welcoming and positive way. I encourage each of you out there to dare yourself to share what is yours to tell. When we dare, it is the courage to do something really important. Let this be a vow to each and every single one of us that we take risk, we brave, confront, and face what is, while inspiring and empowering all communities. So let's break that silence and tap into mental beauty. This is Salima Jadavji, your podcast host, a practicing social worker, and your mental wellness connoisseur. Welcome to the Dare to Share Your Untold Story podcast, episode number 126, Moving Through the Storm and Rebuilding from the Rubble, a story on trauma, resilience, and renewal. To all my fellow listeners, before we get started, I'm just dropping in a note to give you a heads up that this podcast might be emotionally triggering for you. We do invite guests onto the show who share openly about extremely difficult life moments with exposure and impact of what the struggles have been like. The intensity of each episode could have a variable impact on your emotional and mental well-being based on your own personal story. If at any point the topic becomes uncomfortable or upsetting to you in any way, please do not pressure yourself to listen. Instead, be kind to yourself, do some self-care, and perhaps give another episode a try. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our courageous and daring guest, Felicity Nicole. Felicity is an author and storyteller whose work explores resilience, transformation, and self-discovery. With authenticity and depth, she draws from personal experience and a deep understanding of the human spirit to empower others in their own healing journeys. Her voice resonates with those seeking inspiration, growth, and a renewed sense of purpose, making her not only a writer, but also a guide for women navigating pivotal life transitions. She is the creator of She Is You, a brand and community for midlife women seeking connection, healing, and transformation. Known as a sisterhood of midlife warriors, this membership space is Felicity's passion project, helping women find support, strength, and lifelong friendships. A two-time international best-selling author, speaker, mentor, and coach, Felicity has rebuilt her life with courage and resilience and now dedicates herself to helping other women do the same. Outside of her work, she enjoys time with her family, playing the cello, gardening, and reading. Okay. Well, hello there, Felicity. Welcome to the Dare to Share Your Untold Story podcast.
Salima, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. I too, I am so excited. I'm happy you're here. I'm so happy. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you. And I absolutely loved how professional and sleek and smooth your intro has been, because I've been on some podcasts where it hasn't been so sleek and smooth. And I'm like,
Oh,
this girl's got it going on.
aw, thank you. That means a lot to me. It's really great for me to have guests like you on the show, because a guest will show up with willingness to be here to tell their story. And that's what you're doing today, is you're showing up to tell your story. And I'm truly humbled by that process. I am truly humbled to encounter guests time and time again that allow me to tap into their vulnerabilities and then draw on their strength and their insight. And all that inspiration gets shared into this space. It's a sacred space. And it's incredibly important that we take a stance together to help break barriers of mental stigma. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yes. Times are changing and it's happening. The shift is absolutely happening.
The shift is happening. Absolutely. I 100% agree. Now, Felicity, in case you were still wondering, you might not be, but just in case you were, the podcast is all about bringing forward untold stories that people go through, no matter whether it's about a mental health struggle or something else. And we know that no matter what that story is, there is impact on one's own mental health in some way, which remains tucked away. And this platform, it serves in a way to break the barriers of mental stigma that have been conditioned in our society. So today, together, my hopeful mission is for both of us to be able to encourage people to share and tell what individuals typically have reservation to express. And of course, I continue bringing forward a trend. It's called the mental beauty rethink. So, Felicity, immediately, what comes to your mind when you hear this phrase, the mental beauty rethink?
Oh, it's beautiful. I think of harmony. I think of the qualities of authenticity and redefining that stigma around mental health.
Yes.
It's almost like we can shine a light and be proud to say, you know what? I'm not feeling well today because of this, and I'm okay with it. We no longer have to hide behind the shadow anymore.
Right. No hiding behind the shadow, and no self shaming or shaming in general.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's just it, right? So I used to say just mental beauty. I mean, mental beauty is definitely the term. But the reason I add the word rethink is because that's what I'm noticing when I get the chance to talk with someone and I find out what they have in their mind when they just hear the words. People have different expressions, different interpretations. Majority of it is all leading to the same idea, which is a form of acceptance, a form of equalizing and normalizing mental well being. It's about not judging it, not looking at it as being right or wrong or good or bad. And I really like some of the words that you used. And just even when you use the word redefining, yes, redefining is what we're doing. Shining a light and being proud, yes, because that means we're owning our full selves. We're owning and honoring our full selves. We're owning and honoring other people's full selves. And so we give space for all of that. And so I just love all the words you used, even the harmony and the qualities of authenticity. All the words just were so touching for me. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. I think maybe this could be, right? Salima, let's go there. Maybe this could be the second or third or fourth or fifth movement when it comes to just in general. I don't want to say the feminist movement, but just the human movement,
Mm,
right?
yeah, just the human movement. I love it. So, Felicity, I know I'm getting all sneaky with my tone. I'm basically getting all eager and excited to dive deep with you right now. How do you feel? Are you ready to go there?
I am. It feels like Inspector Gadget. You're like, when you were like, I'm getting all sneaky, I just had the image of Inspector Gadget. I'm like, oh my goodness, okay. I am. Yeah. So, as you know, I am very authentic. I keep things very real and I speak it.
I love it. All right. Well, Miss Authenticity, let's go there.
Yes, let's do it. Absolutely.
For our first question, Felicity, give us the newspaper headline of how you would title your untold story. How would it read?
Mm, here we go. Are you ready?
What's the title?
It all started with the crystal ashtray.
Say it again.
It all started with the crystal ashtray.
It all started with the crystal ashtray. Okay, intriguing. Describe what that symbolizes for you.
There's a few ways you could look at the symbolism of the crystal ashtray.
Okay.
We could look at it how it changes the trajectory of my life back then. For me, it symbolizes more of the memory, the trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and the transformation. How this ordinary object, as this crystal ashtray, holds such an extraordinary emotional memory.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I love it. I know.
Yeah, I love it.
Like one of those 1970s big, thick crystal ashtrays that you just think of.
That's literally what I was thinking about when you were describing everything just now.
It has such an impact, emotional impact and toll on me that I will never look at one the same again, and that's okay.
Yep, there are certain things that we experience and they change us and we change and we no longer are the same. So it's not possible for us to view something in the same way when we also shift and change.
But we can redefine it. We can do our best to.
Yes, but in the redefinition, it shifts.
It does through the healing process. I love it.
All right. So I'm ready for that snapshot, Felicity. Tell us what your untold story is all about. Give us your snapshot.
I am a childhood trauma, domestic violence survivor. So the crystal ashtray was the catalyst, right?
Okay.
I witnessed my dad at the age of 10 attempt to, this is where you say your trigger warnings, attempt to murder my mother or kill my mother by beating her over the head with the crystal ashtray.
Oh my goodness.
So the who in this is my cohort, right? Our family, the ones that we're supposed to love, the ones that are supposed to protect us, the ones that are supposed to nurture us, keep us safe and secure.
Mm-hmm.
And at the age of 10, I'm listening to my mother wail outside the other door.
So you're only 10 years old.
I am.
Oh my goodness, just a little one.
Yes, absolutely.
So you couldn't see anything, and you're like audibly, you can hear all the discomfort that your mom is expressing.
Yes, I could hear the fighting. I could hear it. I was pretending to be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I would pretend often, is what I say in my storytelling, my speaking. And it was just common. My father back then would just kind of pop in and out of our lives. And when he would be around, he was under a substance. And unfortunately, this is whatever happened that evening. We were all in bed, my brothers and I. We shared a room in this like 1,000 square foot home
Mm-hmm.
built on railroad ties. But once we heard the cry, I say, because literally all three of us jumped out of bed at the same time and put our ear up against a door.
Oh my goodness.
I know, only for our father to just whip that door open and all of us fell back onto David's bed. And I just remember that moment. He didn't even acknowledge us. We weren't even like in his peripheral vision. He was so stoned, I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
just so coked out that, and his t-shirt was just covered in blood. And I just remember looking at that going, God, he's not even acknowledging us. And him just stuffing clothes in a duffel bag. But this is, Salima, where it gets interesting.
Tell me.
This is where I question the audience.
Mm-hmm.
At the age of 10, there are so many different responses that a 10-year-old would have as I walk into my hallway and stare across to the living room and see your mother, my mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing your mother on the floor, sitting Indian style, head broken wide open. I can see the cartilage of her skull.
Oh my goodness.
Blood is pouring out. She's crying, why me? Crystal ashtray is broken all around her. Cigarette butts that she would fill daily are now covered in blood. How would a 10-year-old respond to that? Many different ways, right?
And none of them, and all frightening. And yeah, but there's even more than just the fear, right? I'm just sitting here trying to visualize all that and thinking, holy smokes.
Yes. So, audience, how would you respond to that? Think about that for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
I go into the bathroom. I roll up a ton of toilet paper. I calmly walk across the room and I proceed to just start dabbing the blood away and telling my mom, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Yes. Little did I know, right? Yeah. I was going to be a healer.
Yeah. It's the bond. It's the bond that you have with your mom. And sometimes the adrenaline rush, our fight, flight, or freeze or fawn, it comes out and in different ways. And sometimes we just respond in a way that we surprise ourselves.
Absolutely.
And as a 10-year-old, you literally were a hero. It's so heroic for you to be so brave and courageous to just go into action mode. I can help.
That I have never would have thought about it. And I can't thank you enough for saying that because you just made her feel proud because that's what it's all about is giving her the voice to speak this story. It's not about me.
Sure.
It's about that inner child. So her nickname is Wheezy. She was nicknamed Wheezy at birth because she had an upper respiratory. That's my nickname through my family and very close friends is Wheezy. Yes. So you just made her feel proud. Thank you. Thank you, Salima.
You're welcome. But I mean, wow, what a snapshot. So tell me, yeah, I mean, of course, if there's any questions that I ask that are not comfortable for you, the ball is in your court. But tell me, if you can, all of this that you witnessed, your father coming in and out of the home or in your lives, you saw your mom in that state. You went to your mom, tried your best to help her. What about your brothers? How did they respond?
So David is a year and a half older than I am, and Tommy and I are about 18 months apart. And I just remember our neighbor coming over, Sarah, who is older than David, all about, teenagers. So you gotta think they were preteen teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to go sleep at their house because my mom was being taken to the hospital. And I just remember, once again, I'm pretending to sleep in Sarah's bed with Tommy's already sleeping. And I could listen to David and Sarah talk. And so, he was angry. Tommy, I think was just afraid, was just numb, was just sad, the baby of the family.
Of course. Yeah.
That's where I say the trajectory of my life would forever, that impact would change it forever.
Oh, absolutely. And how did your mom respond to you when you brought the toilet paper over and you were dabbing the blood from all around her and soothing her and giving her that nurturance, like it's going to be okay? You were giving her that love and tender care. How did she receive it?
I love this question because it's going to counter what you said earlier. She didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. She did apply. She didn't say anything. I love my parents. They both passed away, but going through the therapy that I've had to go through, I've realized and recognized that she was a very, very self-centered woman. Yes. So it doesn't surprise me that she didn't at least respond with anything. And I'm okay with that.
Now, do you think that she didn't respond because of what you know about her personality? Or do you think that because it was maybe she was in shock or it was too painful for her?
Absolutely. To be honest with you, I think she was just in shock. I mean, she just kept saying, why me? Why me? Why me?
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I don't think she even realized or recognized the fact that there is a child sitting there dabbing the blood away because we can dig deep into why me.
Right.
I mean, they got married at 16 because she was pregnant with my sister, who's 11 years older than I am. She was supposed to go to law school. That's how intelligent my mom was. She was very intelligent. This beautiful Hispanic man totally derailed her life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's where my brain kind of goes is like, all right, God, why me? Why is this happening to me?
Yeah. There might have, like, as you said, like, for a 10-year-old child, there's so many different ways you can respond in that moment. And being the victim of such a brutal act of violence, we don't know what was going through her mind either, right? There must have been so much. And so, how did the hospital and emergency services, like, how did that play out?
Absolutely. As I'm dabbing blood, my sister is on the phone with the police. Her fiance was at the front door.
So, they were there. They were also there.
Yes, they were, everybody was there. Yes, the whole family was there. And he's escorting my dad out. And like I said, I remember pretending to sleep at Sarah's bed, and I'm watching David and Sarah with, the ambulances and the cops, they're next door, and you have all this chaos and dysfunction
Mm-hmm.
going on. And the crazy part about it is the next day, she's home. And now it's just David, Tommy, and I, and my mom, with her head bandaged up, sitting around our old dining room table with rickety broken chairs, having a dinner. Everybody knows what happened, but nothing is spoken about
No one's talking about it.
it. Exactly.
Oh, that must have been so confusing as a child.
Yes.
Had all that happen to witness so much, to be with so much uncertainty, one parent be taken away by police, one parent be taken away by EMS services, hospital treatment, return home, and no talking?
Nothing.
Change in that family dynamic. Well, now your father's not there.
He would leave for 12 years. He would just be gone. Yeah.
Now, was he charged?
She did not press charges. She loved him that much. She did not press charges. Yes.
Wow. Okay. We hear that often, right? About survivors and victims of abuse, of how the cycle and the loop, and how it takes a lot of experiences and brutal encounters sometimes before they stand tall and be able to say, okay, I'm going to press charges now.
Absolutely. It does.
And commit to that decision.
Yes, because it's a huge follow through.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. It really does. Because I would eventually find myself repeating my mother's pattern. But yes, it does. It takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up for yourself, leave that situation and press charges against that person, knowing that when you leave a domestic violence relationship, your chance of survival just decrease.
It changes.
Yes, it does. I thought it decreases. Yeah. Once you leave, it's like you really have to protect yourself.
Yes, there's lots of planning and a lot of resource that's required. It can be done,
Oh, absolutely.
but it takes a lot of work and a lot of planning. Now, this not speaking about stuff, no one spoke about it. Did that just continue, or at some point did you speak about it?
No, I love your question. That is perfectly said. We would now remain to grow up unparented
Mm-hmm.
and not speak about anything. I call it, we grew up like Lord of the Flies because unfortunately she would then shut down emotionally and mentally and just work.
Mm-hmm.
There were no revolving door around men. It wasn't like that. She wasn't a drinker. Her vices were cigarettes, nicotine and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nobody to parent us, nobody to maybe put us in therapy or say, how are you doing? Or I love you. It was just a cycle of toxicity because now we have three angry young kids
Mm-hmm.
with these emotions that are all bottled up. And how do we handle this?
Like, you weren't getting your emotional needs met.
Absolutely not.
Sure, you had clothing, food, roof over your head. You had all the basics. Like, you were not being like physically neglected. Like, there was all of those things were being provided.
Some food,
Okay, some food. But it was like the emotional needs were absolutely not attended to.
never met, would never be met throughout my entire life with her.
Mm-hmm. And your sister, the one who's 11 years older than you, did she leave the home? Because you say the three of you, so I know there's you and Tommy and David. What about your sister?
Yeah, so Dawn would, how do I say this? She found her husband who she's still married to. We love him. They're still married. They've got great kids, but she moved in with him within the week.
Okay.
So it was almost like the first person to get me out of here type of situation, right? So and like I said, a lot was doing her own thing. She did a wonderful job though. I really do give her so much credit in the book of really checking in on Tommy and I.
That's nice.
Yes, when we were, growing up, early preteen, she would pick us up. We'd spend the night at her house, and just that was her way. Because I remember her questioning me, what's going on in school? Are you dating?
So more curious, not questioning as in like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Yes.
But more like, hey, tell me more about what your life is like. How is school? How are things? Who's in your life? Who are your friends? She wanted to know. She wanted to be curious. Was that new for you because like you weren't getting that at home, like from your mom or anyone?
It was always our relationship. She was the parentified child.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, think about it. She's 11 years older, so she was 8 years older than David. I can remember stories of her telling me my mom was driving, fixing her hair, big old ash, cigarette. Nobody had car seats back then.
Right.
And my mother telling Dawn, hush that baby up and feed him. And then Dawn telling me I always had to brush, and I had really long, I'm Hispanic, so I had really long, thick hair as a child. And she's like, oh my goodness, I was always in charge of brushing your hair in the morning and getting you ready for school. And oh, you hated the knots and this and that. So,
Well, knots suck, right? So they suck and they hurt and of course.
yes, so she was the parentified child. So, unfortunately, she was given this role, right? She was groomed into this role. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a big role. It was a big role to have.
I love her for it, though.
Of course. This is such an intense time, and as you said, an incident like this that shatters and shifts everything that you know. And as you said, your life changes and it's a different trajectory. Then there's more unknowns and you take things as they come. And what I'm curious about, you mentioned a little earlier that there's a parallel process between the way your mom, her story of the abuse and the trauma, and eventually you mentioned that you lived that same experience. Can you say more about that?
Sure, yes. I talk a lot about that generational trauma, that who's going to be the cycle breaker of the family. And so you have to remember my mother's mom, so who she's still living with. God bless my grandfather. Early on in their marriage was abusive to her before he straightened his world out. So my mom witnessed that, right? So then she then fell into the hands of her abuser.
Right. So it was like normalized for your mom.
Yes. And then I, thinking that's normal, right? Because nobody taught me, it would only get just more toxic. I would fall into the hands of my own abuser, and that would be the father of my son, Evan. And that was, hello, I'm on the straight path. I'm in college working two jobs, just rocking life. Finally figuring out who Felicity is. And then I meet Dan, and I meet him in February. And by April, I remember on my sister's birthday, I was telling her, "You're going to be an aunt,"
Mm-hmm.
just like my mom. I couldn't finish my degree. I wrapped that one up. I couldn't finish the BA part of it. I had to do that later. But yes,
Well, at the time, you couldn't complete it in expected timeline. Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to tell my mom? How am I going to tell my mom? And I remember when I told her, it was about a month into me knowing that I was pregnant. And I came home from work. I worked 22 years in the veterinary industry. I did hospital management. So it was a long shifts. And I'm sitting there in the big chair and a half, and she's laying down on the sofa with the dogs. And, I said, Mom, I have to tell you something. And she goes, "What's going on, Felicity?" And I said, "I'm pregnant."
Mm-hmm.
And her response was, "When are you going to leave?"
You didn't expect that now, did you?
Well, that's exactly right. I would later learn, going through the healing process, that she would abandon me so many times in my life. I remember asking her, I said, "I don't know if I want to." And she says, "No, you are going to leave and you're going to keep the animals here." And I just thought, wow. Yeah, like we should have the celebration. We have a baby coming on, maybe not be in the circumstances we want, but I need to protect and really be there for my daughter. She pulled away. I didn't have the opportunity to have that celebration around me with the women archetypes in my family. I didn't. So that's where Dawn had to step up. And then, all right, let's do a baby shower. And my one sister-in-law, those two were the ones that really kind of did their best to, let's make you feel good about this, because I didn't have that.
Right.
I was projected shame.
Well, of course, those were things that you were longing from your mom. As you said, you were needing that protection, the feel good feelings. But I'm just wondering, do you think your mom really meant to shame you? Because when you shared it, that's what I understood. And maybe I'm getting this wrong, so you clarify for me. But I was thinking of it more as, which was my reaction, like, oh, she's stepping up. She was seeing a pattern and she didn't want you to repeat the pattern that she perhaps recognized.
So as a teenager, I think she stepped up when I was a teenager, because she really was hardcore. I was not allowed to date because I think she was afraid of that. Yes. I think at this point, it was like, you made your bed, now go sit in it.
Okay. And how old were you around this timeline?
I was 29, going to be 30 that following month. Yeah. So
Okay. So it was like an age, like it's a good age. It's consistent with being a mom, and you go there to tell your mom, and you didn't get any celebration, congratulations. I mean, and again, as you said, there's so many ways that people can react and respond to situations, and there's still a way to protect your child and celebrate with your child at the same time.
I talk about it like in that movie, Riding in Cars with Boys, with Drew Barrymore, where she's having her wedding very similar to my baby shower, because my sister and my sister-in-law hosted a baby shower, and my mom was there, my aunt was there was some family members there, and it just was it was just so awkward. It was like when James Woods was like in the movie, we all know why we're here,
Mm-hmm.
so let's make the best of it. Seriously, if he could pop out and say that, that's what would have happened. We all know why we're here, so let's just try and make the best of it. This is Felicity. She's the screw up. We don't expect anything more. And I would fit that narrative very well throughout high school, falling in love with Dan and having this baby, and then realizing, like, whoa, this dude has got a problem.
Right. And so, what are some other things that you endured? You're with Dan. You didn't know he was going to be the abuser that he was. Your son is born. What happens?
Yes, I realized fast because I was on bed rest for 3 months towards the end of my pregnancy, and I realized I'm like, okay, I'm doing this solo because he would come home from work and go to the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd come home late at night. And once I had Evan, it was my dad and I taking Evan back and forth to the hospital because Evan was not necessarily well. We thought he was developing something called pyloric stenosis.
Okay.
But I immediately knew, okay, I have an issue on my hands here, and it's not a matter of if I get out of this marriage, it's a matter of when, and that would be a decade later that I would finally have the courage to do it. I would leave 1 or 2, maybe 3 times with Evan and then come back. I would actually file for divorce at one point when Evan was probably about 2.5 or 3. My dad gave me the money, and then Dan would go into AA and promise. So there is that cycle, because you have to think when you're dealing with an abuser, there is that cycle.
And there's broken promises, and there's all these new chances, and it's a lot. And there's you working up the courage to make the steps and make plan and change your life and uproot things. And then you come back and you're like, okay, maybe we can make this work. And, he's the father of my kid, right? So you have all those things playing in your mind.
And then you go through the romantic phase, right? Things are good. We love each other. And then it goes back again.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious about one more thing, another thing. So you mentioned that, you'd go back and forth to the hospital for Evan, and you went with your dad. So how did that relationship develop when you witnessed so much violence with your dad towards your mom? How did you manage to keep a relationship with him? He was also helping you in your rescue plan.
Yes, this is how dysfunctional my family is. I love it. So here we go. Are you ready, people? His story is so beautiful. It's all about redemption. I won't ever forget the phone call. I was probably about 18, and then my mom was doing dishes, and he called, and I'm an eavesdropper, and she's like, "What's up, Michael?" And I could hear him saying, "Anita, I think this is it. I finally fucked up." And she goes, "What do you want me to do about it?" He goes, "I'm just letting you know. I don't know what's going to happen to me." And I wouldn't know till much later what that meant. And she goes, "I don't know to tell you, Michael," and hung up the phone. He would disappear for a little bit, and then he moved back. He moved to the town next to us, bought 4 condos, moved his family into a couple of them, and then rented out a couple of the other ones. And his life was all about redemption. His nuclear family, his mom, his sister, yes, yeah, my cousin had rented one with his wife and kids, and then he threw himself into God, and he didn't get to see us grow up, but he got to see his grandchildren grow up. He got to be a part of his grandchildren's lives. I get the chills when I think about it because it's such a beautiful story on redemption, because I do believe God gives everybody a second chance. And he did his best to try to make it good with my mother. I don't blame her for having that wall up, but she did, But I mean, Anita, let's get you a new car. Got her a new car. Anita, let's fix the house up. Would fix the house up. Anita, I'm coming in with groceries after church, and he'd drop off groceries, and she'd always, why are you here? Why are you here? And I don't blame her. You want your abuser out of your life, so why are you still circling back? But at one point, they would get remarried, only for insurance purposes, because my father was in the process of passing away, and he had great insurance and great benefits from his full-time job. And when he called me and he told me, guess what? your mom and I are married. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what is happening? And he told me why, obviously. And so I called my mom and I'm like, so Anita, I hear you got some news to share with me. And she's right away like, Felicity, you know, shut the F up. We had that type of relationship, you know. So I knew what he was doing. He was setting her up because he was in the process of coming shortly to the end of his life. And he was wanting to make sure that she wouldn't have to survive anymore, but thrive. And that's what's so sad about that part of the story that I share. My father would pass away in February of 2013. My mom would be diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and cardiac failure in February of 2013. And she would die in June of 2013, a week after her 65th birthday.
So you're telling me they both passed away around the same time?
Yeah, within like 3 or 4 months of each other.
So she got her diagnosis around the time he passed away, and then within months.
That month was insane. That month was insane.
Oh my goodness.
It was just, and this is where I think, the rewrite begins, because that was my backup plan, right? Running to mom and dad to save me, running to mom and dad to save me. And this is where God's going like, I'm going to rewrite your story. You're going to learn to save yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That moment she passed away, I remember driving home 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning because I was there by her bedside. And I remember thinking to myself, I gotta make my plan.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make my plan. There's nowhere else to turn to. And that's what I did. I made my plan, began to make my exit plan.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. And in between all of that, dealing with an alcoholic, which would be learning to become invisible, learning to de-escalate those situations, learning to keep that stuff away from Evan as much as possible.
That's incredible. Holy smokes. Now, there are stories within your story. I heard you say earlier, this is how dysfunctional our family is. Well, I find that very judgmental. I don't think you need to judge your family anymore. I think it's just there was a lot of moving parts and there was a lot of different journeys that were taking place at the same time. But it also seems like each person in your family witnessed their own things, experienced their own things, and each person was trying to figure themselves out.
Absolutely.
It sounds like that's just what was going on. And when you go, I'm not saying you go with the flow with this, but in the flow that occurred, you were embracing things that made sense to you, and you were taking things in stride as they would come to figure out the next step. So that answers my question of how do you find a way to build a relationship with this man who's helping you with your son, taking you to the hospital, when he's the same person who you witnessed doing ABC, XYZ with your mom when you're 10 years old, being a witness to all of that. So that answers my question very well.
Thank you. Yes, as I went off on a tangent. Yes.
That's okay. I love tangents. Those are great. Okay, so Felicity, when people come to see me for therapy, individuals, they're typically in one of three places, okay? So some people are getting started. They want to just, start therapy and say, okay, let's explore, dive in, see what's going on, and make some movement, get mental clarity. Some people are in an acute situation where they're in the middle of something and they need support to detangle, as well as commit to, okay, all these things have prompted me to come here, but there's lots of things I want to work on once, we have some things situated. And then there's some people who are looking back, where maybe they want closure, or they're just looking for personal growth, or they just want to make sure that they're taking care of their mental wellness just as they do their physical wellness. So for yourself, what part of your journey are you in based on the untold story that you have shared today? Would you say that you are just getting started, in the middle, or looking back?
I am the observer, so I can look back. Now, 2025 has been a rough year. I didn't expect 2025 to pull the Band-Aid off of all of this and kind of re-trigger my C-PTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I didn't expect that my second husband, because I would eventually get remarried, of almost 9 years, would file for divorce. I do see that now as a blessing in disguise. I understand the reason and the why behind that. But that moment, he did that in January, literally pulling the rug out from underneath me.
January of 2025.
Yes, removed all my safety and security from what? My inner child. Yes. So, yes, that wheezy once again. Where am I going to go? What's happening? Where are we, all these moving parts again, right?
So much uncertainty being like just reignited, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And I went right into, well, we go into go mode because I had to find a place to live.
Yeah, survival mode, go mode.
Yeah. And then once I was able to get that situated, thank God that I was working from home and had my own career and job and this and that, because I went straight into freeze. I'm just pulling myself out, to be honest with you. Yes, it has been by far one of the hardest parts of my life, to be completely honest with you. I didn't think at the age of 48 that I would have to reface all those shadows again. I didn't think I'd have to reparent all my inner children. I call them archetypes or inner children, but
Mm-hmm.
plus my 17-year-old, my son, would have to let him reassure him, no, we're going to be okay, which we are.
Right.
I would self isolate. I'd have friends come and check on me. I got down to 100 pounds. I'm 5'8".
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, my psychiatrist, my therapist, everybody would make sure and check on me. I even had to check myself into an outpatient program, only to find out that it just wasn't for me. I could run it, but it wasn't for me.
Right.
Slowly now, as fall approaches us, I'm slowly now starting to recognize who Felicity really is. I've had nothing but false narratives placed upon me.
Right.
Yeah, let me repeat that. I've had nothing but false narratives placed upon me my whole entire life. From the dean in high school telling my mother, Felicity is a child going nowhere, to the ex husband that's going to say, you're nothing, absolutely nothing, you're not going to survive without me, to the second husband totally gaslighting me. Sweetheart, no, you don't work. You stay home, build your business, which would only screw me in the long end. To his family, telling me, you're not good enough to be a part of us. You're not good enough to wear that. Take those shoes off. Take that dress off. I would have to pull all that, unravel all that to find the truth, the self-worth, the self-esteem, the beauty in all that brokenness, right? Because she's beautiful and she's smart and she's big. So she's not fitting in that box anymore.
Of course. And all these narratives, all these false narratives that placed upon you throughout your life, that really speaks volumes to how your mental health was affected and has been affected. It speaks volumes to all of the different triggers and the symptoms and all of the pain that you endured physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, from all realms. And you've expressed it so beautifully, like so eloquently, that I've been through all these things and I've worked through all these things. I was completely shattered and I had to rebuild myself. And I always ask, how your untold story has affected your mental health, but those false narratives that you've shared that were placed upon you really paint a very clear picture. Is there anything else in terms of how your mental health was affected in terms of what you shared today? Is there anything missing from that impact that you haven't shared yet?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, you covered all of the deep nuances, is what I got. So tell me, what is your key message to the listeners of our show? What do you want them to know?
They could walk away with one key message, regardless of their circumstances, season of life that they are in. They do have the capability and power to redefine the narrative and or the life that they want. We don't have to be the person that we were groomed into being, right? Yeah. We can become that person that we want to be. That's exactly. I made that promise to God 20 years ago, maybe. And I'm exactly where I wanted to be today. 2-time international best-selling author.
Amazing. Amazing. You literally lived this journey bit by bit, step by step, to get yourself from where you were in step one to where you are now. And it's beautiful. So tell me, I'm really curious about what was game changing for you in terms of inspiration, something that's close to you that reflects your untold story. Was there like a inspirational quote, mantra, book, something, event, place, person that spoke to you that kind of was your pivot point?
Yes. And I would often ask, we get into that victim mindset, why me, why me? Go back to my mom, why me, why me? And I'm just, asking God, why has my life at the age of 48 has been so emotionally painful as it has been? And if it wasn't your trust the process, your story is going to be medicine for all those other people out there.
Mm.
Yes, that haven't done the work, that haven't faced their shadows, that are still sitting in victim mentality, that don't have a spiritual practice.
Beautiful. Okay. And what is a cause or an organization that's been impactful to you on your journey that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, I want to give a shout out to my sisters, Invisible Warriors, which is out of Huntsville, Alabama. It's a non-for-profit. Nancy Becker, I love her. It's a non-for-profit organization for women veterans that suffer from PTSD. There's not enough resources for women veterans, and Nancy's doing a wonderful job.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I can't tell enough people to donate to the organization because, as a board member, not right now, I had to take a leave of absence, but I was a board member. Nancy gives her all. She's an inspiration herself. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. What a wonderful and lovely shout out. All right. Now tell me, how can people connect with you if they would like to? How are you findable?
Sure. You can visit my website. There is where you can find all my goodies. You can also find me on Instagram. And then I believe my TikTok is just kind of a fun page. You're just going to see me sharing animal videos.
Amazing. We have grabbed all your handles, Felicity. So that's actually now all on your show notes page. So if someone was to come to our daretoshare.co, they would find everything that they need to know about you and they can connect with you. Take it from there. So that's wonderful. So, Felicity, guess what?
What's that?
You've just dared yourself to share. Congrats.
Yes, I love it. Inspector Gadget. Salima, you did a great job. Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, you've done so fantastic. This is, wow. I don't have words to share about how much in awe I have been. Felicity, if I would just take a moment to express my gratitude for the deep story shared in this space today, you speaking openly about what you've witnessed and endured in terms of trauma, abuse, resiliency, narratives, mental health impact, the cycle of abuse, intergenerational trauma, channeling your pain into purpose, and now blossoming beautifully, imperfections and all. I am truly grateful to have been able to hear and witness your story today. So thank you for the deep conversation and for all the daring and sharing.
I got the chills. Thank you, Salima, for holding space for me.
Wonderful. It has been my absolute pleasure. Once again, Felicity, thank you for being part of Dare to Share Your Untold Story and helping to be a voice in breaking down the barriers of mental stigma. To all of our listeners, if you like what you've been hearing on this podcast and you want to be part of breaking down barriers of mental stigma, I invite you to go wherever you are listening to the episode and hit subscribe. Leave us a comment or a review of the episode and maybe how you relate to it. To learn more about what we offer, visit www.daretoheal.co. And if you are feeling ready and brave to share, please submit your story by visiting www.daretoshare.co. Thanks for joining in.